Right, there's IG. Cool, cool. Bobby, what up?
What's going on, good brother? How you feel?
Super blessed. Super blessed. Still getting some things in line as our guests come on. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram is all connected. So our folks should be on soon. How's your day?
Slow and steady, brother. Slow and steady, man. Didn't do too much. Was with baby girl, pretty much all day, and now I'm just taking it easy, man. Just getting some studying in before I got on some time to myself, and easy, slow motion today, slow motion. How I like it on Sundays.
True. How old is your baby girl?
She's 12, and my oldest is 22.
Yeah.
Caught you off guard, brother.
Note out here. Yes
Yes,
and
sir.
no. My baby girl's 14, so
Mm,
I mean I know that life. I know the daddy life. And I
yes,
enjoy it. I enjoy it so well. My daughter saved my life for real.
yes, sir. I definitely know what you mean.
Multiple times.
Yes, sir. My oldest helped make me the man I am. Both of them actually, but it's to starting with my oldest, make me the man I am today, for sure.
Hmm. Well, we got people tapping in. I'm getting my Instagram logged in real quick. Um, I typically will pull in from my coaching page so that I can watch what's happening. So let me do that, and then we're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it shake.
Sounds good.
All right. Shout out to those who have already tapped in. All right. So for those of you here tonight, once again, we are here for another night of the Heal Me campaign, brotherly conversations. Where nightly, during the month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, I speak with other African American men about how they've dealt with pain and adversity in their life and still been able to come through and get back to a place of peace, power, and purpose. This started because in 2019, I wrote a song entitled Heal Me, released a song entitled Heal Me featuring Grammy nominated artist Raheem Devon. This song talks about how my father raised me and how he inadvertently taught me some unhealthy practices for coping with pain and adversity. Since then, I've been able to find some healthier approaches to dealing with my own difficulties as a man that have allowed me to, continue to grow my healing journey and process. I started this campaign to talk with other brothers who have received similar moments, right? Similar moments in their life, which I call Job moments or dark points or difficult points that they've been able to come through. Our hope is that brothers who are currently in a more tougher moment in their life can, one, know that they're not alone. Two, hear from us that they do have the capacity to get through it. And then three, use some of the strategies that we discuss and see what works for them and see, what'll help them come through and then get back to a place, peace, power, and purpose. So we thank you all for being here with us tonight. My name is Yusha Assad. I am a recording artist, motivational speaker, and master certified life coach. And we are joined today by Bobby Holmes, son of a dream LLC underscore on Instagram. Bobby, tell us who you are, what you got going on, how we can support you, love you, show up for you. Let us know.
Brother, I am a black man who is just committed to community and just trying to do what I can. My small contributions try to make my community stronger than what it already is, and as well as showing up and being the father I need to be for my children, for my baby girl brothers. That's really who I am. If you want to slap titles on it, cool. Founder, as you said, founder and owner of Son of a Dream Services and Multimedia Resources, focuses on the healthy development, well-being of men and boys and their families. Just looking at how their development is shaped and influenced by their environment, and do this work through my mental health private practice where I offer psychotherapy solely for men and boys, um, and as well as youth development programming for boys. And professional development training for social workers who work with black men and boys.
Hmm. Yo, that's super dope.
Yes, sir.
How did you what led you to choose that niche, that path, that focus?
Fell in love with the work, bro. To be specific, 2012. I started really working for an agency, Regeneration Project. Shout out to Rod Stokes, Latanya Stokes, for giving me an opportunity to really dig deep in this work. And just working one on one with black boys in Baltimore, supporting them and supporting their families. I fell in love, brother. I fell in love with the brilliance, the possibilities, the imagination, the dreams, the hopes of black boys living in Baltimore, and wanting more for themselves and wanting more for for their families. So from there, it just took me to different avenues, whether it's after school programming, during school programming, out in the community, doing work with black men, communing with other black men in Baltimore, grassroots. That's my foundation. Community is my foundation, brother. That's where they made me at. Yes, I do this professionally, but it was community to help me understand power and purpose
Hmm.
of this work, bro.
Well, dope. And much as we would say to a service, man, thank you. Thank you for your work.
That, bro, I'm just doing my part. That's all. Appreciate it.
Community man myself, man. So community is big for me. There's a whole joke, man. I'm actually in a fraternity,
Mm,
and there's a whole joke amongst my line and the brothers before us because there was a point in our process where I had a full fledged argument with the brothers about why we were doing something if it wasn't needed to serve the community.
mm.
And I was like, if it ain't about the community, I ain't doing it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What are we doing at that point? If it ain't about that, what are we doing?
If
What
it
are we
ain't,
doing?
I mean, I know everybody has different values and perspectives in life, but I value people who care about us on a macro and a micro level.
Yes,
Um,
sir. Yes,
so
sir.
cool, cool. Let me. I want to walk our viewers through our agenda for the night.
Mm,
Um, so for all of you who are watching, this is pretty much how the Hit Me campaign runs. We always start with a hook or an icebreaker warm up, and essentially that's us listening to the Heal Me song. When we're done, Bobby will give us not a review of the song, but he'll give us his connection to the song. Right? Maybe it might be a lyric or a bar here or there where he can relate to. So some way he relates to the song. Then we'll jump right into Bobby's story. I will ask him what broke you. If that applies to him, we'll keep it moving. If not, then we'll just rephrase that and say, what was a difficult time that you dealt with? We will dive into Bobby's vices, the things that he used to cope with that moment, whether good or bad. We'll dive into his transition, how he started to get to a place of his healing process and journey. Um, we'll get to the strategies that he used to heal, and then ultimately we'll talk about what is his current strategies for maintaining, growing, and staying in a place of peace, power, and purpose. So, without further ado, Bobby, you ready? We're gonna go ahead and get started.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go.
All right, let's run this song. Yeah. Heal me. This is my prayer. See, my father never talked too much. Just that look in his eyes, deep stares out the window, told me that life was simple. But I would never know what he would never reveal. That sharp look in his face was pain he would conceal. He inadvertently taught me that real men don't feel. So don't follow your heart. Use it to advance your cause, but always follow your thoughts and make a smart decision. You should barely apologize and never ask permission. And when the world does a thing to try to break you down, don't tell a soul. They waiting just to take your crown. Your woman gon' think you weak if you express your pain. Your men gon' say you sweet though they be feeling the same. So get a vice, cup of Hennessy, cigarette, live your life. Whatever you gotta do to get sleep at night. Cause for the longest you probably ain't sleeping right. or even slept at all. When God calls, don't fight it, take a sigh of relief that you ain't gotta live no more in this grief. Yeah, yeah, the cruel world that we living in is hard and cold. You ain't a man till it scars your soul. Straight up, so don't ever express your feelings. Sit in silence, cause the only feelings you get are anger, hate, and violence. But see, the system got a process and a plan for that. Time is the only thing you got, so never hand them that. So if you ever truly feel like you about to break, get you a pencil and a notebook, let your mind escape. Writing is the only place where we can feel free. After he died, I read his notebook, he wrote, Heal me. Heal me, yeah. Heal me. Father, don't nobody understand me. I won't make it out unless you come down and heal me. Heal me. They don't know the pain I've been going through. I call on your name because I know that you can heal me. Was he really that strong? Or just putting up a front? Did death come too soon? Or was it something he wanted? After 66 hard years of hiding them tears, did he get a reward? Well, let me make this clear that I think his vice got him. The thing he used to cope with life just took the life out of him. Them cigarettes that he would smoke on all them stressful days. Though he still had a few good days, and I knew, cause he would smoke one or two, but otherwise a pack. I used to ask him not to smoke again, but what I should have said was breathe, pop, don't hold it in. We do yoga to get peace these days, but them Carolina preachers didn't teach these ways. It was suffer and survive. If you don't get your blessings in this life, if you tired, you can get them when you die. He used to hit that cigarette and play too much. That he got cancer and ain't say too much. He said, heal me. Oh, heal me. Heal me. Mama, don't nobody understand me. I won't make it out unless you come and heal me. Heal me.
Yes,
Myself
sir.
featuring Raheem Devon, man. How do you relate to that? What's connected to you in that story?
First, yo, you should. That was a dope joint, man. Dope
Mm.
track for
Thank you,
sure,
bro.
man. I shared it with one of the young brothers I hold space with, man.
Mm.
Um, today, man, is definitely dope, definitely needed. Um, it's you wrote that piece and came out with that piece. You did it with Raheem Devon, which is dope. Raheem Devon got ties to Baltimore. If I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken, he went to cop and he was definitely on the spoken word open mic circuit here in Baltimore. So that connection is real dope, man. And you released it in 2019, and it definitely um, also reminds me of Kendrick Lamar joint Father Time off his album.
Mm.
Just talking about that dynamic of father and son and masculinity and toxic masculinity as well. Um, but for me, brother, I think it's the story of men. You know, the story of men, a continuation, extension of the story of men, particularly understanding the black man, and the black boy, boyhood, manhood, malehood as well, in terms of how we were taught to emote, express ourselves, how to view ourselves in the society. And when we experience the different trials and tribulations that life will bring, how do we learn to deal with them? Where certain things such as therapy and so forth was so taboo in our community, or just not accessible. We found other ways. Some were healthy ways to cope and to deal with it. Some were unhealthy.
Right.
The black church, as you know, good brother, has been a staple in the black community forever. In terms of healing and spirituality and rejuvenation. So for some of us, that was the pathway, and then for others, it was the bottle. It was the needle. It was the substances. As my family was personally impacted by it, man. As I saw uncles who struggled with drug addiction throughout the years. Um, both sides of my family, uncles struggled with drug addiction, and just how we are taught to deal with our problems, how we taught to express ourselves, man. So With Heal Me, that track, man, touches on all of that. And just at the space, man, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. It's not that I had this level of emotional maturity and intelligence all my life. I haven't. It was my work, um, and just being a man, being a father, that has helped me become better in so many ways as expressing myself and strengthening my emotional intelligence. And today is a coming upon brothers like us, to model that for our boys, and teach that to our boys. Because it's just not taught. It's just you just don't know what does that mean. And teaching black boys how not to be afraid of their emotions. Mask their emotions, and being comfortable with expressing themselves. And it sounds like your father in that track you talk about of how he struggled with his own challenges, internally, and you witnessed it all, and how you internalize yourself. He modeled this behavior, and you internalize, okay, all right, this is how I'm supposed to move as a man. So this is how I'm gonna move forward. So I think the story of you and your father is the story of my father and I, and just a lot of black men and black boys on how we're taught to deal with our challenges, brother. So, kudos to you that the song will live on forever. And um, I'm gonna play it for my boys in session, man. Because it's needed and it's necessary, man. But for me, that's my takeaway when I hear it, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that. Thank you for the compliment on the song, and
Mm,
it is dope to have Ryan to be a part of it. It's the first record we were able to do together, and it worked out like magic. There was a saying that my father and his homies. He didn't call them homies, right? But it's my
mm,
father and his homies. My father was born 1941. I was telling a friend that yesterday. If he was still alive, this would have been his 81st, well, 82nd year on the planet. He would have been 82nd, 82 on May 18th. But they used to have this saying. They used to be like, "How you doing, man? I'm good. I could complain, but ain't nobody listening anyway."
mm,
This is something they used to say, and that didn't shape anything in me at first. It just planted a seed because I was brave enough and stupid enough to believe that my emotions matter.
mm,
So as a kid, I was very communicative. I would cry and everything, but I'd also tell people, if you make me cry, then we're gonna fight after that.
mm, mm,
But
mm,
the world taught me, the world and its experiences, the unhealed world, as I became an adult, taught me that what my father was telling me was true. It made me feel like that, right? The unhealed world made me feel like there was no space for me to feel.
mm,
Um, so my father set the tone by being who he was and showing it to me. And what it did was it brought me closer to him because once I understood why he was quiet, I was like, damn, there was nobody there to give him space to feel.
mm,
And the only way for him to quiet his emotions was to hit that cigarette. And, like I said in the song, if it was a good day, time was going by too fast for him to smoke. So he might smoke one or two, but if it was a difficult day, he could smoke a whole pack along with that cup of coffee. So, I think, man, for black men and black boys in America, it's it's even allowing ourselves. It's not even just the healing or the emotional expression. It's just allowing ourselves to even believe that somebody would give a fuck.
mm.
You know what I mean? And sorry to use that language for those who might be offended, but I got to say it like that.
Yes, sir.
It's going to take a while for a lot of men to believe that anybody would even give a fuck.
Yes, sir.
I said to a sister today, one of my own girls. She talked about needing needing to know where her man is
Mm,
at all times, and I'm like, well, what's the importance of that for you? And she was just like, well, that's just what we do in my family. We drop locations, we let people know where we are for safety. And I responded to her. I said, wow. I said, be honest with you, I don't know what that feels like.
mm,
I don't know what it feels like for people to want to know where I am to see if I'm safe.
mm,
I think I told her, I said, as a grown man, not even with my own daughter, because my daughter is used to prioritizing her mother's safety, not necessarily mine, right? I'm the one who keeps her safe. She don't prioritize my safety.
mm.
And so I know for sure, like, especially in the summertime, right? If school's not in, if I passed away in my apartment, it might be 5 or 6 days before anybody knew.
Yes, sir. It's
Because
real.
ain't nobody checking to see if I'm okay. And so I'm not offended by that. It doesn't bother me. But
Mm.
then for somebody to say, nah, in my family we check, we see where everybody at. I'm like, I don't know what that feel like. That's what's up. Yeah, I'm happy for y'all. Um, so it's a lot, and that's why we having these conversations now because it's not that we're depressed or down by that. I think it's just become norm. But it's like there's a new norm. There's a healthier norm, and wellness is the new genre in a sense. So we take it on. So let's get into your story, man. Thank you for that feedback.
No problem. No problem at all. Of course.
I want to ask you what broke you. Does that apply to you? Do you have a moment that you feel like
Broke me. Um, Help me understand what you mean by that, bro. By broke me. Let me understand that.
I are you familiar? You familiar with? We talked about the church. You familiar with Job, right?
Job, nah, I'm a heathen. You gotta break that down to him. I'm a heathen.
The fact that you called yourself a heathen means that you're not a heathen. It's the Job moment, right, man? It's the moment that got him so low where he could have cursed God and died,
Hmm.
but he refused and he came out of it. But he ain't. It's clear. It's clear for me that brothers who have went through that sincere moment, that moment where it was like faith. I always say this. Remember, Ward Carriga say this: when faith has been tested, when your faith has been tested, and death has been dealt with, you move different.
Hmm.
So for me, it's I'm talking about that moment in your life where it could have went either way.
Hmm.
Do you,
Hmm. Um, I'm gonna go with uh one of the biggest tests and the hardest things I ever done. Um, and I wouldn't. I can't say the use the word broke, but I could definitely say tested and challenged in so many ways. And pushed me to my limits. And I say fatherhood did that. Fatherhood did that. I became a father when I was 17 years old. My senior year of high school. Um, and I graduated, of course, that May 2000. And my oldest daughter, she was born September 2000. Um, and it was one of those things where, all my life I was very conscious that I didn't want to be like my father, my biological father. And I was blessed when I was around age 4, if I'm not mistaken. My mother married my mother Sherry married Chris. That man will raise me uh, as if I was his own. And I will grow to call him my father. And I still consider him my father to this day. But when I was a little boy, I still knew who Rob, my biological father, Robert Marvin Holmes, the second junior. Um, I still knew who he was, and I knew things about him. Um, and so I was very intentional at a very early age not to be like him.
hmm,
And so when I was on my way to become a father, when I found out I was on my way to become a father, um, it was one of those things where either I'm going to sink or swim.
hmm,
And failing that wasn't an option for me. I remember Chris, my father, the man who raised me. I called him Pop. Pop was taking me to work one day. I was working a part-time job at Chick-fil-A. I remember he was disappointed. Man, I got the young lady. pregnant. My girlfriend pregnant, a young lady. Is we were together. He's very disappointed in me that I got her pregnant, and I remember he's taking me to work, man, and he driving, and he's like, "So what you gonna do?" And my 17-year-old mind, I gave a 17-year-old response that illuminates ignorance. Um, but I didn't know, and I just, I shrugged my shoulders like, take care of it, like, I said like that was just a dumb question, and he just continued to drive and to shake his head like he's a complete idiot, like because he did, is again, I'm 17, is my own ignorance of what the task, the job, the responsibility, the journey that was ahead of me. Um, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I was going to do. Besides just that, just take care of it, just be there and be present. Um, I knew that because I know that I was going to model my life the opposite of my biological father.
Mm.
I was going to be intentional of not being like him. So, everything he did, I was going to do the complete opposite,
Right.
which I actually did. I'm 40 now. And my biological father, Rob, he is 62, if I'm not mistaken. Our life are like day and night on how we lived our lives. Um, and I was intentional about that since I was a little boy. So, with that, um, I was determined to be part of her life. But the test came because our mom and I were on again and off again over the years. In 2005, we finally broke up. Um, and here's where the test lies. Because the challenges came in play with my both of my parents, my mother and my biological father, when they broke up. Um, there was no co-parenting. There was no understanding or agreement, at least not that I know of. Because like I said, I was my mother married Chris when I was about 4 years old. Very young age, and my biological father wasn't in the picture at all. He was dealing with his own, own struggles with, being out there in the streets, own struggles with drugs and prison, and going through it. So he had his own belts he had to deal with, his own demons, his own trauma, his own depression. He had to deal with. And so when my oldest daughter, Renaya, mother and I broke up, it was that time for me to say, okay, all right, here it is. Now I gotta still be a present, and presence in her life. That was I was determined to do, you know, staying 10 toes down on my mission and on my assignment. And over the years, it was tough. Um, it was definitely tough because we couldn't agree, and I felt like she did her best to break me. Go back to the word you used, broke. She did her best to break me. Um, I don't know. I can't to this day, man. I can't tell you to why. And break is in terms of um make it very difficult for me to be around. Um,
What
uh,
type of if you feel comfortable,
yes,
what
sir. Yes, sir.
what type of stuff? In what ways were you being tested?
Humiliated, minimized, um, you know, being dismissed, as if my role didn't really matter, here or not here. Um, that's what I felt. Um, and I really didn't have my only response at that time. Again, due to my own emotional maturity, was anger. I really, therapy wasn't even a thought at the time. Um, I don't think anyone, um, my family, wife, anyone at that time really understood and knew what I was going through internally. They saw the anger, they saw the frustration, but it was somebody's taking something from you. taking a role from you as father.
Mm,
Um, and this wasn't our first breakup; it was our final breakup. And throughout the years, just being tested and back and forth to courts, and court system is not very kind to men. Um, and I had some very humiliating experiences in court, in front of groups of people, and trying to again fight and be a part of my daughter's life. And at times, man, yeah, I felt like giving up. I felt like, what the hell with it.
mm,
Um, Throw up my hands. As I've heard other men felt the same way because it gets exhausting. It gets exhausting when you gotta deal with dudes coming to your house, ready to do harm to you, police knocking at your door, going back and forth to court, um, trying to insert yourself in your daughter's life, and your daughter being kept from you, and you're going up to schools and people giving you looks and snares, and not allowing you to see the child that you brought in this world, um, and not having really a safe space, to share like I'm doing right now, of how it was affecting me and what I was going through. So that was a very trying experience, man. Very trying experience. Went through some time where I didn't see my daughter, briefly, not nothing, too long. Because like I said, man, I was back and forth doing what I can in court, trying to compromise as best I could, with things, so I could be a part of our life and matter. And
right.
when it was clear that I wasn't going anywhere, it seemed like the intention switched from that to, okay, I'm just gonna minimize your role. If I can't get rid of you, I'm just gonna minimize you.
What do
And
you think that? What do you think that stemmed from for her?
um, you know, I can't. I don't like speculating, brother.
I
You
don't.
know,
I get it. I
yeah,
hate.
yeah. I don't like speculating, man. She had her own challenges where I don't think she knew her biological father, and she was raised by a man, but it wasn't the best relationship she had. And like I said, man, it wasn't our first breakup. So there was anger there. I made piss poor decisions being in a relationship with her. I wasn't always the best man, the best stand up guy. Um, and I'm sure that played a part of her anger for me and resentment for me. Um, but like I said, man, I can't speculate what was going through our head. But that's just a little bit of background that may have contributed to her decisions.
Yeah. During this time period, and thank you for all that, brother. During this time period, how are you managing your emotions?
Anger, man. That was the number one response. It was, in therapy we talk about primary and secondary emotions. That was that wasn't my primary emotions. That's just what came out. Anger, um, uh, resentment. Um, that's the emotion I led with. I felt misunderstood. Because again, like no one really knew. And I'm not always sure. Maybe my mother, bless that woman, was probably the only one who even came close to trying to understand, and where I was coming from, what I was going through, man. But really, I didn't. When I talk about it, anger came out, frustration came out. Um, but I don't think anyone really understood, and I didn't always feel heard and understood.
So anger is the emotion that comes out. What is the actions connected to that anger?
Um, a lot of screaming and yelling and cussing. I had some drag out arguments, um, that and said some things, bro. I'm not proud of. Um, and bumped heads with her, bumped heads with her being, my daughter's mother, bumped heads with her husband. Um, so it was definitely, anger, confusion, and a bunch of nonsense. That came out for me. Was it always erratic? No, it wasn't. Um, but anger was the emotion that within my capacity that I could express. For so long, man, disagreements was, in my relationships, particularly with her and others, you know, you either gonna scream, cuss, and fuss, or you're not gonna say nothing at all. Um,
Shut down. I'm either gonna turn up or I'm gonna shut down.
Yeah, exactly. That's that. It was either going 0 to 100. That's it. That's the only speeds that were. And that's how I operated for far too long, man. But it was definitely that was my behavior and how I dealt with it. And how I came across, man. And her mother and our communication was piss poor, and that's putting it mildly. Our communication was piss poor with each other. So we communicated how we communicated in our relationship with each other is how we would communicate as when we were co-parenting.
Okay, gotcha. So anger was like your vice in a sense.
Absolutely,
It was your outlet, and
absolutely.
for y'all, because I know you said you referenced her husband, so I'm so much she got married.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, was there ever a switch, and if so, when was it, and what do you think allowed it to happen?
When you say switch, what you referring to, brother?
Did the energy ever, the
Yes,
relationship between you and your first child's mother ever redirect?
yes. We had peacetime. Let's call it that. Where we weren't warring with each other. We had our moments where we tried to uh to get along with each other. We honestly tried, man. I guess the best within our capacity and what we knew how to do. We tried to get along with each other. Whether it was her inviting me over to her home for our daughter's junior prom send off, or us sitting down having dinner together as a family for her birthday. So there were moments where we tried to get along with each other. It's just when disagreements have come about, um, it was only one way her and I were going to end it, and that's with, excuse me, going at each other's necks. That's how we do it. It would start out trying to be civil and have a calm, cool, collective conversation. Uh, and I feel disrespected, and I got very low patience for disrespect. And I'll respond with a quick temper
Sound like to me, y'all both of y'all was just triggering the hell out of each other.
all day, all day. That's what it would come to. That's
Did
what it would come to.
did grace ever come into play?
No,
Hmm.
no. Um, Usually, sometimes it felt like it was a war for my daughter. It was a war for my daughter, man, and it was a very long standing. Like when we broke up, she was about 5 years old, man. So it was a 13-year long war.
Hmm.
And sometimes we were able to go to the negotiation table and act like we had some sense. Literally go to mediation with each other and act like we had some sense. And we gave the mediators blues. That's for sure. And we gave the mediators blues. I'm sure they felt like smoking a cigarette after dealing with us. Um, but yeah, man, and then it'll be times where, yeah, somebody better call the police. because we not gonna we gotta solve this peacefully.
So I had an epiphany today.
Tell me about it, brother. That sounds powerful.
It relates. The epiphany that I had was that I'm ready to love.
Mm, mm,
And if anybody had asked me that before, I could have said it before. I definitely could have always said it. But today, I really had the epiphany yesterday, but I can say it with a more definite understanding of why I know I'm ready to love. And the reason why I know that I'm ready to love is because I have proven to myself that I know how to be triggered, stop, breathe, take accountability for my feelings,
mm,
take accountability for why I feel that way, and still return to my partner with peace, with love, and with what I call curious communication.
mm,
And I call it curious communication in the spirit of the four agreements because, as you said earlier, I know how to return to the conversation without accusation,
mm,
without assumption.
mm,
I know how to come back to the conversation and say, hey, you did this or you said this factually, how it made me feel. This is why I felt that way. This is where that comes from me. I understand that this is my trigger to deal with. Here's what you can do to help me if you like. But can you give me some insight on why you did it?
mm,
Tell me your intention. And 9 times out of 10, what I've learned is that once you hear the intention of why a person feels the way they feel, you understand that the shit won't even about you.
mm, mm,
It's about what they processed, thought, or assumed about the scenario themselves.
mm,
And then once you know that it isn't about you, boom, grace.
mm.
You don't have to take it personal no more. You and your ex, when I asked, was there space for grace? Of course, you said, nah, there was no space for grace.
Mm,
And I said, well, it sounded like y'all was just both triggering the hell out of each other.
mm,
You said to me earlier that you don't like to make, um, I would say the synonym is assumption, but you didn't say assumptions. You said what? You were like,
speculation,
I
like to
like,
speculate. Mm.
I like to speculate. When did you stop speculating?
Um, I would say over the years, brother. Over the years, I stopped speculating and guessing. I mean, about things and go with hardcore facts. Because as you were talking about, you ask certain questions. Curious communication. That's how you described it. You
Mm,
ask certain questions, you'll find out certain things and intentions. And a lot of times, a lot of confusion and conflict and misunderstanding comes from people's perceptions and perspectives of things, how they perceive things to be, not how they really are. Um, and over the years, I got in the habit of, I don't want to speculate about what somebody's thinking or feeling. Um, I rather, um, if possible, sometimes it's not possible for me to know from their own mouths what it is, as opposed to me speculating what it was. Um, and this during this time, Yusha, I didn't have the level of emotional intelligence to do so. I just didn't. Or the maturity. I ain't have. I was a grown man and all that. Taking care of family, paying bills. But I ain't have full control, awareness. First of all, self awareness. Let alone control of my own emotions to come to that space to ask the necessary questions to understand. Um, I led with anger and ended with anger. Um, but I didn't have the wherewithal to even engage in that type of conversation. Um, I'm still communicating as if I am a 15-year-old, 16-year-old boy. At that time, and it wasn't. If I'm being honest, it wasn't until like the past what 5, 8 years or so um, that started to change for me. Uh,
What led to it?
Doing the same thing and getting the same results. Um, like I said, man, leading with the aggression, and once I learned to change my approach to conflict, I noticed that others change their approach to me. Doesn't matter what it was, whether it was my wife, my brother. Once I changed the way I did things, others changed the way how they responded and moved with me. It was that, and also you should man just getting tired. I got in a lot of drag out, ugly arguments over the years, man. And I'm at a space in my life. I'm 40. Like I said, man, I'm tired of fighting. I did a lot of fighting, bro. A lot of fighting. A lot of ugliness came out. And I physically don't have it in me no more. To have those type of confrontations with people anymore. I physically don't have it in me anymore to do it. Let alone emotionally. That I'm at my older age has calmed me down.
As my friend would say, this big age.
Yeah, yeah, he's like, you just too big for that, man. Too big. Be acting like you 16, or you 5 years old having a tantrum. You just too big for that. Um, and after years of doing that, man, I'm just I can't anymore. And I did it in multiple relationships, family, friends, romantic relationships. I'm tired of fighting. I don't have it in me, so I had to get to that point as well. To realize again, self-awareness is a beautiful thing. And once I paid attention to, okay, people are going to respond to me different based on what I do. I'm gonna set the tone a lot of times based on how I engage in conflict with people. Conflict is inevitable. It's going to happen. There's nothing wrong with it. So how I address problems and my approach to them is going to make the big difference, because they may be right and I may be wrong. But if there's a bunch of cussing and carrying on, you're not gonna get to the root of it.
I love what you said too, man. I want to interject because you said when I changed the way I responded to things, people would change how they responded to me.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The reason why I love that and I relate to that is because I really feel like we got two mindsets in the world. First of all, I want to give this story, right?
Hmm.
Story about I, I can't. Can I get a story? You
Go ahead, fire away, brother. Fire away.
so there's a story where the angel Jabril is with God,
Hmm.
and the angel Jabril is looking at the world without God's influence, and he turns around and he says to God, "How could you expect these human beings to go right? How could any man go right in this?" And then God changes his perspective and he shows the angel Jabril the world with his influence. And the angel Jabril says, "This is paradise. How could any man ever go wrong?" I love that story because it tells us that there's really two perspectives in life. There's a higher perspective and a lower perspective. There's a God framework. There's a world framework. There's a love framework. There's a hate framework. There's a teammate framework. There's an enemy framework in which, when we look at people that we're dealing with, when we look at people, when we look at the world, when we look at circumstances from a love perspective, we don't see it as in warfare with us. We see it as we see it. I always say we see it the same way we see a withering flower, right?
Mm-hmm.
A person who grows flowers, a person who takes care of flowers, like my auntie used to say. We My auntie got an auntie. She's still alive. Her name is Aunt Baba Jean, right? I'm from the country for real. Like,
Yes, sir.
Aunt Baba Jean. And my auntie sings to her flowers, man. She sings to them all the time. And whenever anybody in the family asks her, like, how you keep your flowers alive, and she'll tell you, I water them and I sing to them. I love up on them. Those are my plants. I love up on them.
Mm-hmm.
When you see a withering flower, you don't go to that flower and be like, I mean, what the fuck you doing, man? What you sitting there looking yellow for?
Mm-hmm.
Get up off your ass and go drink some water. You don't do that to the flower.
Mm-hmm.
You water it.
Mm-hmm.
You improve the environment that the flower is in order to bring it back to itself. Because you know that the thing you're looking at is a beautiful flower. And I think sometimes we look at people and we forget that in God's garden, that person is a beautiful flower.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at it and we see this withering or this damaging thing that we feel like is blocking, inhibiting, or not allowing the beautification of our life's perspective. And so we treat it like an enemy, right? Or we treat it like this bad thing. And it's not. We are all beautiful flowers in God's garden. And sometimes we just need to be watered. And we need the environment that we sit in to be cultivated in a way that brings us back to this space. And the reason why I told that story is because it sounds like to me you at one point realized that if I respond to you with love or don't respond at all, right? Because what grandma say, if I ain't got nothing nice to say,
I ain't gonna say nothing at all.
say nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I don't give you hate in return,
Mm-hmm.
then there's space, room, opportunity for you to check yourself
Mm-hmm.
without me having to degrade you.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you got tired. Part of why you got there is because I just got tired. I physically couldn't do it anymore. Um, you talked about cycles in a sense, right? I'm seeing this repetitively in other relationships. What I'm asking you for now is, was there a moment where it just clicked? Was there a book? Was there a day in church? Was there a conversation with a friend?
Mm-hmm.
They're like yesterday, I had a click. I had a damn, I'm ready to love and I know why.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a click for you at any point? What did you experience that led to it where you were just like, you know what? I really got control in this scenario. And if I show up like this,
Mm-hmm.
I ain't got to really worry about that shit like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. It wasn't through my oldest daughter's mother though. It was actually through my youngest brother. Um, that I got it. A younger brother. We 10 years apart, man. And him and I, um, throughout the years, had a very weird relationship
Mm,
where we love each other dearly. Um, he's funny, one of the funniest people I know. Love each other dearly. We get along. Um, but when there's a disagreement, it's visceral. It's visceral and it's vicious. Because my brother has a temper, a short temper. Um, and I had a short temper at one point. Um, so when he ready to go to 10, I'm a step over with 11. Um, and it never ended well with us. Like literally, it will come to blows. with him and I, um, because of our tempers. And I had to learn because he always looked up to me. He was influenced by me, looked up to me. He was proud that I was his big brother and called me his big brother to this day. Even though he's a grown man himself, wife and all that. 31 years old, but he calls me. He still looks at me as his big brother and refer to me as such. Um, that he will listen and respond to me. And so once I realized that I have that type of, I command his attention like that, and I have that level of influence. Once I saw if I change my response with him, our disagreements won't go to that level. Now put it to the test. Put it to the test. Um, if I'm mindful of the inflection of my voice, the pitch of my voice, the words I say and how I say them, he'll respond differently to me. Um, and I was consciously doing it when I did it. It's consciously doing it. Because I took some time to reflect on. I do a lot of reflecting, man. I don't do a lot of praying, but I do a lot of reflecting. And I was reflecting on how about our disagreements over the years and how the times where it turned violent and why.
Mm.
Um, and how the role I played and in getting to that point and oftentimes it was my fault. Excuse me. All the time it was my fault. All the time it was my fault. Um, and when I learned to control my temper better, my anger better, and my approach to him, our conversations, our disagreements definitely went differently. Like I said, when him and I get along, we the best of friends. And our big brother, little brother dynamic kicks in, and he looks to me, to play the role as the older brother. So when we're getting along, we're the best at it. Um,
So,
when we don't, that's when God decided to learn to change my approach, brother.
so you had an epiphany about how you thought he would respond differently if you responded differently, and then you put it to the test and it worked.
Yes, yes,
So, did you then use that transferable knowledge in other spaces and other relationships?
yes, yes, I did.
Is
Yes,
the
I did.
reason why is it your daughter's the older daughter 22, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you're 4 years out of her being 18.
Hmm.
And I'm assuming that after 18, there's no reason to deal with her mama.
No.
And I'm pretty sure that somewhere between 15 and 16, having to deal with her mama probably got a little slimmer because
Hmm.
she's a little bit more independent. So
Hmm.
there was never an opportunity to reenact this new learning or to utilize this new learning, this new proven hypothesis on her mother.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I've been tested recently, actually.
Tell us about it if
My,
you feel comfortable.
yeah. That's fine, man. My oldest just graduated from grad school, man. And of course, mom was there. And I didn't really have anything nice to say. Um, but I was respectful and cordial. And my approach and her approach, because her approach wasn't standoffish, wasn't mean, um, at all. Um, we definitely maintained the peace. She was intentional about greeting me. She was intentional about um, being cordial with me, as opposed to staying on the other side of the room and I stay on the other side of the room. She greeted me and made sure she spoke to me.
Right.
Uh, and so, instead of being a complete a hole about it. I showed respect, and it was cordial um, in return.
Yeah,
So yeah, I had a chance to an extent, not to the extent that I have with others, but at least to manage and monitor, despite how I feel inside, at least maintain a level of respect and cordial, to be cordial.
yeah. Bobby, we had an hour, and look, and I want to be mindful of time, and I want to be mindful of our viewers' time.
Yes,
And
sir.
I want to point out that even though I have a structure in which we follow for the Heal Me campaign, I'm always cool with not being completely on point with that structure because that's just structure. I
Mm,
think you start with structure and then you deviate based off the need. And I think what's so powerful about your story today, and what I really got from it is that the power that I got from your story is the power that you have to use love to diffuse anger.
mm,
Because often when we talk about like effective communication, right, we talk about being able to get your point across without necessarily hurting somebody. But at the same time, like none of us know the triggers of other people, right? So when you're dealing with your baby mother, like you don't know the triggers with your child's mother because you corrected that earlier. So I want to correct it too.
mm,
When we dealing with your child's mother, you don't really know her triggers. You don't know everything that throws her off. However, the effective way to diffuse anger is love. In macro language would be love. But if we make that practical for people, me and my daughter always define love as anything that you do, physically do, to show appreciation and understanding. Appreciation when someone is at their best and understanding when they're not.
mm,
Sometimes when we trigger somebody, they get into a place where they're not necessarily operating at their best. And it is an act of love to shut the fuck up,
mm.
offer some understanding.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Not, and not because you a punk or you scared, or not
Mm.
because you like, because we get in them places where we be like, man, you got me fucked up. I ain't about to let nobody talk to me like that.
Right, right.
And so it's not that you're not defending yourself or not standing up for yourself, but sometimes not standing up for yourself and just being quiet and listening and offering a person understanding when they're triggered, you'll soon find that you don't need to stand up for yourself because this shit ain't even about you.
Right. And that's growth, brother. And
That's
that
and that's
there lies the growth.
and that's why I think this conversation is so powerful because there are so many post breakup non-functional co-parenting relationships. Like we seen the joint on Instagram where the brother showed up at the house and brought only his kid food, and then
Mm.
the sister mad because she got all these kids in the house. Did you see that on? You remember that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
he don't
sir.
necessarily know how to diffuse the situation, so it's getting tighter. He's not offering no understanding. He's trying to be understood. She's trying to be understood, and they just going back and forth fighting. And at one point, it just would have been enough for somebody to be like, "Yo, I understand how you feel. I don't necessarily agree, but can you tell me how you feel? Can you tell me why that's important to you?"
Right.
Right? Because then maybe you can get an understanding of like, and I think that's why this conversation tonight is so powerful for me because of that dynamic in our community and how much more functional
Right.
those relationships could be if somebody would just not take it personal. Just not take it personal. Not allow that person to see them as an enemy, but to see them as a friend and be like, listen, my bad.
Mhm.
Talk to me. I didn't mean to hurt you, but I did. Can you tell me why? What,
Right.
So
And you to that point, brother. That is one of the biggest challenges we have in our community as far as our relationships are concerns. That definitely have is its approach is a domino effect, man. That whatever mom and dad can't get right definitely trickles down to the child and influence and shapes how they move in their relationships in the future.
mm,
And the cycle continues. What type you parent like your parent, one way or another. Whether what time you go to bed or what day you do chores and what you do on the day of chores, what music you listen to, you parent like your parent. And good, bad, or indifferent, you influence your child. based on what you model. The world will see what type of parent my 22-year-old will become. But she probably is going to be influenced by her parents. She's definitely triggered by some things by her parents. She's influenced and raised by her parents with the love and the care and all of that. But just overall, as black men, as black fathers, man, being understanding of that and with a strong sense of self and self awareness is key, especially how we engage in our relationships with others, engage in relationships with the children of the mother of our children and our children themselves, man. So it's important. It's critical for us to get this right. It's critical, man.
Yeah. Man, thank you for that, Bobby. I want to hit these three P's real quick, man. Just answer really quickly, however it hits you,
Mhm.
whatever comes to your mind first, man. When do you feel most peaceful?
Family, bro. I'm around family.
Okay. When do you feel most purposeful?
When I'm doing the work for my community.
When do you feel most powerful?
When I'm able to be vulnerable.
I'm triggered. Conversation for another day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Once again, y'all, for everybody listening in, my name is Yusha Assad, artist, motivational speaker, master certified life coach. We're here today with Bobby Holmes, Mr. Son of a Dream, LLC, the leader, the owner, and founder of Son of a Dream. We appreciate you for being here, brother. Thank you for tapping in, y'all. Nightly during the month of May at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, I talk with African American men about difficulties or struggles that they face, how they cope with it, how they heal through it, and how they got to a more resolved place of peace, power, and purpose. We will be back with more nights to come, but stay tapped in, stay connected. We're going to be talking to more brothers. Thank you, Bobby. Peace, brother.
Peace, brother.